Good morning, students. Welcome to your online classes of English. Today, we will be starting with Flamigo poetry section. Today, I will be explaining you the first poem, My Mother at 66 by Kamla Das. Okay. Today, I will be explaining you about that, My Mother at 66 by Kamla Das. Now, little bit about the poet we'll talk about in the introduction part. That means My Mother at 66 by Kamla Das captures about human relationships. That means it captures about what? It teaches about human relationships. In lyrical idioms, you could say, in lyrical idioms. She is driving to Cochin airport. That means the poetess is driving towards Cochin airport with her mother who is 66 years old. That means the poetess is driving towards Cochin airport and her mother is sitting beside her. To the next scene. The old lady sits dozing. The old lady sits dozing. Dozing means she is little bit sleepy. She is sleeping. With her mouth open. With her mouth open. Her face looks pale and faded like a dead body. Her face looks pale like a dead body, just like a corpse, just like a dead body. But then the poet looks outside. Then afterwards, the poet looks outside. The poetess looks outside. She watches all the greenery and all the trees and all on the way. The trees seem to be racing fast. The trees seem to be racing fast, sprinting. The tree is running along with the car. It looks like that outside. The happy children are running out of their homes in groups. And the happy children are running out of their homes in groups and they are playing outside. The poet sees all that. The world outside is full of life and activity. The world outside is full of life and activity. But the poetess mother is not active at all. The poet is trying to say that. It contrasts with the pale and ashen face of the mother inside the car. That means the poet is doing all these comparison with her mother. It contrasts with the pale and ashen face of the mother inside the car. So this is the poem all about. Now see, in the first stanza, we'll talk about what? Driving with my mother sitting beside. The poet is driving a car and her mother is sitting beside her. We'll talk about that. The poet is driving from her parents' home. The poet is driving from her parents' home to the Cochin airport. Where she is going towards? She is going towards Cochin airport. Okay? That means we are talking about Kerala. That means during that time, the new name of Cochin is Trivanthapuram now. Okay. Now, the old name was what? Cochin to that. That means the Cochin was capital of Kerala. That means we are talking about Cochin airport. The poet is moving towards Cochin airport. Her mother is sitting beside her. That means the poetess mother is sitting beside her in the car. She is 66 years old. How many years old she is? She is 66 years old. The old lady sits dozing. The old lady sits dozing. She is sleepy. That means she is feeling very sleepy on the car. You could say that. Her mouth remains open. Her mouth remains open. Her face looks pale and faded. Her face looks pale and faded. Okay, grey like ash, grey like ash, just like a ashen color, जैसे कि राख का कलर होता है, just like that. It looks lifeless like a dead body, just like a corpse, just like a dead body. It looked lifeless like a dead body. Whenever the poet watches her mother face, it looks like a dead body to her. Now in the second stanza, we'll talk about looks at the world outside. Now the poet is making a comparison over here. Now what comparison she is making? She is making the outer activity compared with her mother. The outer world, the outer scenery, what the poetess is saying, when she is going through a car, that means she is doing the comparison with her mother. Now see the lifeless and faded face of her mother. The poetess is talking about the lifeless and faded face of her mother. Pains her heart, deeply pains the poetess' heart. The old lady seems to be lost in thoughts. The old lady, she is 66 years old and she is lost in her thoughts. The poet turns away her attention. The poet turns away her attention from her mother and she is looking outside through the running car and she sees what the poetess sees outside. The world outside is full of life and activities. The world outside through the running car is full of life and activities. What the poetess sees, she sees, that means the happy children are coming out of the car and they are playing outside and the trees are running along with the car, the green trees and all, we are talking about that. The trees seems running fast. The children look happy and gay. The children come out of their homes and they are looking very happy and they are playing their games. Okay. Now see in the last stanza, very short poem and very simple poem it is. In the last stanza, we'll talk about familiar childhood ache returns. That means the knowing pain returns to the poet. Again, she thinks about her mother's deep pain. She is getting older now. Whether she could see her mother or not. Just like one lesson you did last year, the portrait of a lady, what Khushwant Singh thought of a grandmother. Whether he could see his mother or not. The poet is also thinking the same way. That means if she will come next time, she could see her mother or not. It is about that. She is deeply pained through that and she is working outside. When she will be coming next time, she could see her mother or not. She is worried about that and she is worried about her old age. Familiar childhood ache returns. That means जो जाना माना उसका दर्द है वो जो लौट के आता है. We are talking about that. At the airport, they have to undergo a security checkup. Both of them at the airport, they have to go through a security checkup. Standing a few yards away, she looks again at her old mother. When the poet was going away from Cochin, she was looking back at her grandmother while going. Okay? Again, she is pained to look at the colorless, lifeless, and pale face of her mother. While going, the poetess is deeply pained to see the pale and colorless face of her mother. Okay? Her face looked faded like the late winter's moon. Her face looked like a pale winter's moon, you could say. Now the poet has used a simile over here. What do you mean by pale winter's moon? During the winter weather, during the winter season, if you see the moon, it looks faded little bit due to foggy weather and all. Due to foggy weather and all, in winter, how the moon looks like in the night. That means it looks little bit faded, dhundla sa dikhai deta. The poet, that's why the poet is using this simile, and she is making a comparison to her mother. Okay, just like a faded moon. She is saying that. Okay, lifeless, pale face of a mother. Her face looks faded like the late winter's moon. The poet has used a simile over here. It has lost its shine and strength. The face has totally lost its shine and strength. This arouses old familiar ache in a heart. That means it arouses old familiar ache in a heart. ये देख के उनको काफ़ी दर्द उठता है. It means that. Okay? Her childhood fear possesses her again. Again her childhood fear returns back again. Just like William Douglas, if you remember, you have done Deep Water. The childhood fear was returning towards him again and again until he worked hard. He became a very good swimmer after that. So just like that, childhood fear was returning towards the poetess also in this poem. But she composes herself to look normal. But she doesn't want to show her sadness to her mother. अगर वो दुखी हो जाएगी तो उसकी मदर भी दुखी हो जाएगी. That's why she is not showing through her face that she is very sad to look at her mother. She scatters smile on her face, saying goodbye to her mother. That means she scatters smile in her face and she says goodbye to her mother. She wishes to meet her old amma again. She wishes to meet her old amma again. She wants to meet her old mother again. Just like Khushwant Singh. He also expected like that when he will return back from foreign. If you remember one lesson you did last year, the portrait of a lady. Okay, that means he was also worried when he was going for foreign for 5 years whether he could see her grandmother or not. Just like that, poetess is also thinking that means when she will return next time, she could see her mother or not. She is deeply pained because of that. So this is the poem all about. Thank you, students. In the next class, I will be explaining you the next poem. Thank you. Best of luck for your examination. Do well. Be safe and healthy. Do take good care of yourselves.